Handsome viewers, it's Void Hammer time, and Rogue Trader 1.5 has finally gone live. If you've watched the previous video, you know that I'm incredibly excited to start a playthrough in this new patch, this new wonderful world of Rogue Trader, a game that has completely bypassed my radar, and as a burgeoning Warhammer 40k enthusiast, it's an actual heresy that I have not, given this game the honest shot that it deserves. So, what I wanted to do in this video, the patch actually dropped a little bit too soon, well, sooner than I thought it would. I was only expecting it on Friday or on Saturday, which is the 25th of October, which is Warhammer Day, apparently. You should pop into your local Warhammer shop on the 25th of October. You might be able to nab some goodies. I'm not sure, to be honest, but I will definitely pop into my local Warhammer shop when I get the chance. But that's completely off topic. Right now, what I want to do is kind of treat this as a session -1, figure out what exactly I'm going to do for the campaign, for the playthrough, difficulty, all that type of stuff, and most importantly, go through the origins, because I was away from my computer today and I was unable to see what the changes were to the 4 origins that are getting sort of complete redesigns. So this video, I'll put the timestamps below for anybody who was in my position and unable to get to their PCs and see the changes. I will put timestamps below, and I will go through each and every redesigned class for your handsome viewer viewing pleasure. Now, before we begin, with update 1.5, the Cronus Expanse shifts once more. It brings Origins rework, convictions for familiars, I don't know what that means, new exotic weapon talents, new portraits, new Xeno and Astartes items, and long-anticipated balance changes. Step back aboard, your sacred duty awaits. Yes, so I am very excited to start the playthrough. This is not the official beginning of my playthrough. This is going to be sort of me looking at the new changes to the origins so that I can kind of decide, maybe with or without your guys' comments below to sort of guide me in the right direction in terms of difficulty. I see a lot of people said play on normal. I refuse. I will either go daring, hard, or unfair. I'm thinking hard might be the sweet spot because it's, it's between the two. Unfair might be too difficult for me because I haven't played any of the other Pathfinder games yet. I understand that these CRPGs, they get a little bit easier once you climb in power and get ready, sort of get going with your items and your builds and stuff, and then you kind of become an unstoppable force, and unfair probably won't ever be difficult enough. But these are big words coming from somebody who hasn't played the game properly yet. So, for now, none of this really matters because we're just going to check out the classes. None of this matters right now. We're not doing these are the pre-mades. We'll just do a custom character. To give you guys a sense of how much effort I'm putting into this playthrough, I've photoshopped together a portrait from the elements of the other character portraits that I do like, and removed other elements that I don't want or whatever. So, yeah, that I might change this because I need to decide exactly which origin I want to go with. So let's go to Homeworld. We'll probably go for our playthrough. We'll probably do a Hive Worlder. I want these fellowship bonuses because I think we're going to go Commissar or Astra Militarum, but let's see. Right, so the 4 classes, or sorry, origins that got sort of rather big changes is the Astra Militarum Commander, the Commissar, the Ministorum Priest, and the Navy Officer. So let's start off with the Astra Militarum Commander. Sorry, and again, because I waffled for so long at the beginning of this video, and this is completely off script, which I typically do script my videos, I thought it would be fun to do it this way. So apologies for the long-winded intro to get to this point, but again, timestamps will be below. And let's begin. Let's get into it. The Astra Militarum Commander. The Astra Militarum, commonly known as the Imperial Guard, is the primary fighting force of the Imperium and the first line of defense from the myriad threats that endanger the existence of humanity in the 41st millennium. You have served as one of the commanders of an Astra Militarum regiment, commanding thousands and winning battles in the name of the God Emperor. So their main sort of ability is regimental tactics. When used for 1 round, the Astra Militarum Commander and their allies do not suffer damage from allied attacks and deal plus 20 plus 2 times their fellowship bonus. So the way I understand this is that your fellowship bonus, say it'll be the tens column, right? So you say your fellowship is 20, then your fellowship bonus is 2. So it would be 20 plus 2 times 2. percent more damage to enemies that were attacked by them since ability activation. If multiple Astra Militarum Commanders are in combat, the effect does not stack. So I don't believe that this ability has changed. I think this is exactly how it was pre 1.5. Do let me know in the comments if I'm incorrect. And the characteristic modifiers and the skill modifiers remain sort of the same. So I think, yeah, I believe that ballistic skill and fellowship are the primary sort of characteristic modifiers. And I think the big changes are in these talents here. This is where the juice of the patch has changed and buffed these classes. So, beginning with Suppression Fire. While the effect of Regimental Tactics lasts, the Astra Militarum Commanders and their allies' weapon attacks gain plus 20% dodge reduction. Cool. So while you're using your main feature, this big button buff, while the effect of Regimental Tactics lasts, the Astra Militarum Commanders and their allies' weapon attacks gain plus 20% dodge reduction. So it's making your weapons more likely to hit. And parry reduction, block reduction, and cover penetration against enemies that have already been attacked. Against enemies that have been already... Whoa, there's a typo there. That wasn't just me, right? And cover penetration against enemies that have already been attacked by the commander's allies this combat. Okay, so let your allies attack. You enable this, and all your guys become way more likely to hit, even against cover. That's my understanding there. Cool. So this guy's just, he's a buff. He's a buffing totem. He's a mobile buffing totem, essentially. Field of Fire. While the Astra Militarum Commander is under the Regimental Tactics effect, which again, so everything surrounds that effect, that ability. All their allies gain plus 5% to rate of fire for every attack they've made since the start of this effect. Wow, okay, so when do these come online, these talents? Do you get them all at once later on, or I wonder how that works. Fixed bayonets, cool. Two-handed las weapons equipped by the Astra Militarum Commander or their allies gain a bayonet strike single melee attack that costs 1 AP. This attack deals the same damage as the las weapon and does not count towards the attack limit per turn, but can only be used once per round. Okay. This attack deals the same damage as las weapon and does not count towards the attack limit per turn. Okay, so that's basically that. Cool. I'm liking it. Because this was my first choice before the patch. So far, it's still my first choice. So that's a nice sort of like free attack, right? Very cool. Then we've got Unflinching Heroism. Whenever the Astra Militarum Commander or their ally performs a heroic act, heroic acts are things that you get to perform when your momentum bar fills up, I believe. All the commander's characteristics are increased by +7 until the end of combat. Okay, so just your stuff. So you become a little bit of a buffed up dude for a while. Trench Warfare. While the Astra Militarum Commander is in partial cover, their las weapon's rate of fire is increased by 20% and by 40% while in full cover. Rate of fire. Wow. Okay, so this feels like you literally want a party filled with people who have las guns. That's what I'm taking from this. Maybe one tank and then a bunch of las gunners. Maybe that's the way to play this. Who knows? So I'm not convinced that this will be the origin we take. Next up, we have Commissar. Commissars of the Officio Prefectus are ruthless officers charged with maintaining the morale, discipline, and fighting spirit of their Astra Militarum regiment. You used to be one of these faithful servants of the God Emperor, a living symbol of Imperium authority, regarded with a mix of fear and awe by their subordinates. These guys, I don't know where the hat is. Show hat. I don't know, the older version used to have the hats. I don't know why they're not showing now, but they're the classic little tabletop Imperial Guard unit that like, oh, you're running away from the giant Tyrannid abomination, then they'll, shoot you in the back of the head and inspire the rest of the troops. I believe that's their whole shtick. At all costs, these are their features. They get 2 features, Iconic Sidearm and At all costs. The Commissar shoots an allied character with a pistol equipped to their primary hand, dealing 100 plus Commissar's coercion % of weapon damage. So that's the full coercion number, not the bonus. So that could easily be like 150%, something like that, okay? This shot ignores armor and deflection and always hits. Okay, so you really hurt one of your friends to buff. When it's in combat, they get their remains. So you buff your team by shooting a teammate. If that ally is a Xenos, it always scores a critical hit, okay? So you'll like kill a Xenos party member. I don't know how many Xenos party members you get in the game. If the ally remains in combat, they gain the at or cost effect for 1 round. So that is, this character deals plus 2 times Commissar's Fellowship % bonus, more damage. So that could be, say your Fellowship is like 50 or so. I think they round down. So it'll be 5. 2 times 5, you'll get 10% more damage. Oh, damn. Plus 2 times the Commissar's Fellowship bonus % dodge. So you do more damage, you get more dodge, and you get more parry. Plus the Commissar's Coercion divided by 10 to all characteristics. So you just buff the hell out of everybody? Who gets this? Shoots an allied character with a pistol equipped. The shot ignores armor. If that ally is Xenos, it'll always hit. If the ally remains in combat, so they get that. Okay, so one person gets that. If that ally falls unconscious, this effect is instead applied to all your allies, except the Commissars themselves. And the cooldown of this ability is reset at the start of the Commissar's next turn. So if you one-shot one of your teammates, you get a massive buff to the rest of your team. And I believe the party cap in this game is 6. So excluding yourself, 4 people get a massive buff. It could be good, I think. I don't know. Who knows? I like the theme of it. I don't know if it's the character for me though, for this first playthrough. Shots with a pistol in their primary hand deal plus 2 times the Commissar's BS bonus. Is that ballistics? What is BS? Ballistic skill. Gain 15% more critical hit chance and 2 times the Commissar's Fellowship bonus % dodge reduction. Okay. Sure. The tooltips in this are quite a bloody mouthful, if I do say so. Right. Then we get Ballistic Fellowship. So again, it's this Fellowship skill that I'm seeing between these 2 leadership characters that I really like. I'm still leaning towards the Astra Militarum Commander, I think. But we'll see. Cool, and then more, I don't know, when they say further in Origin advancement, I don't know how long it takes for this stuff to come online. But let's go through the Commissar's talents. 1 for the enemies, 2 for the traitors. It's actually so cool. The effect of the iconic sidearm is now active when pistol is equipped in either hand. Oh shit, can you dual wield pistols? And then get this bonus twice? Maybe. Let them know fear. That's a famous... And they shall know no fear. I think that's the Astartes, or the Emperor's quote to his Astartes, or some famous quote regarding the Astartes. While the Commissar is adjacent to an enemy, their allies gain plus 1 plus Commissar's Fellowship bonus, divided by 2, resolve. Go ahead, hold on. I need to learn how to read these guys. While the Commissar is adjacent to an enemy, their allies gain plus 1 plus Commissar's Fellowship bonus. So the Fellowship bonus could be about 2 or so. So it's 2. 1 plus 2, 3, divided by 2. In resolve as well. Okay. So you're basically just giving people near you bonus 3 to 4 to 5 resolve or so. And that measures efficiently in for how long characters can fight in the battle for. It determines the amount of momentum gained at the beginning of each turn or after killing an enemy. Okay, so the resolve is quite an important combat stat. So you basically just... Is this a passive? I have no idea. If that's a passive, that's really cool, because then you just stand near people and they get extra resolve. That's sick. Excuse me with the voice and stuff, guys. I mean, as is typical, as the patch drops, as I want to start this momentous playthrough on the channel, I get hit with a bit of a cold. So struggling to talk, but we power through, handsome viewers. If there are no creatures in a 2-cell radius, the Commissar gains plus 1 plus Commissar's Fellowship bonus. Okay, so then they get the bonus themselves. So, I mean, there's no downsides. This is all very cool. Motivation. The Commissar's movement points, yes, movement points, is increased by plus 1 plus character level divided by 10. Just flat out. So you get more movement points. All allies starting their turn in a 2-cell radius around the Commissar also gain the same amount of MP. So depending on your level, the higher level, the more movement points you get. That seems insane. 2-cell radius. So you just keep this guy on the front lines, near your party, and you get all these, really good buffs, which is very cool. Still don't know if I like it more than the Astra Militarum Commander, but this is sounding more and more appealing as we go on. Once per round after the Commissar performs an attack with a pistol, they gain Fellowship bonus divided by 2 worth of movement points. Does not stack. Okay, very cool. That was motivation. Now we're going to summary. Execution. When the Commissar uses at all costs while shooting from behind. What does that mean? While shooting from behind. The bonuses granted by the effect are doubled. So if you're behind the teammate that you blast, you double the effects. So if you just tap them in the back of their head without them even realizing. That's so funny. When the Commissar uses at all costs while shooting from behind, the bonus is granted by the effect of double. That is insane. So does this mean that you basically just get a party where you have one Xenos in your party and you just bully them every combat to buff your entire party? If so, that's hilarious. Okay. For the Emperor. If an ally remains in combat after being attacked with the ability at all costs... So, hold on, I just gotta read this again. I'm struggling to focus. If an ally remains in combat after being attacked with the ability at all costs and then kills an enemy while under the effect, they will regain 30% of the wounds lost due to at all costs as temporary wounds. Okay, so then you can actually keep that person alive, or, you know, prevent them from dying as hard as they would have otherwise. Okay, not 100% convinced, but I'm kind of liking it. And theme-wise, thematics-wise, that's great for a dogmatic sort of, you know, proper Commissar. I would really... Ministorum Priest, I've played around with the idea of this. I really like the idea of going for a big two-handed melee sort of Ministorum Priest tanky build, maybe. I'm not sure. But let's read. The Ecclesiarchy, known formerly as the Adeptus Ministorum, is a vast institution that oversees the galaxy-spanning religion of the Imperium. The Ecclesiarchy's complex hierarchies of cardinals, missionaries, preachers, and zealous laity? I don't know what that is. I have to look up that word. There you go, laity. The Ecclesiarchy's complex hierarchies of cardinals, missionaries, preachers, and zealous laity ensure the prescribed prayers and invocations are made, all the while instructing the masses to guard against heresy and deviancy. You used to be one of those fiery and charismatic individuals concerned with keeping a close watch on your congregation. Okay, that's an inquisitorial symbol, isn't it? Interesting. Okay, so their features. The War Hymn grants plus 2 times number of zeal stacks momentum. So you're basically getting, I don't know what zeal stacks are, a specific parameter that enhances the abilities of Ministorum Priests and Sisters of the Adeptus Sororitas. Oh, so I know that you get a Genta, or Genta, I don't know how to pronounce her name, as a companion. You could, if you keep her in your party, this would work very well with her. Okay, so zeal is like a little currency that they have to deal with. So plus 2 times number of zeal stacks momentum. So you just get that. Boom, you just get some momentum. Then the Ministorum Priest gains plus WP bonus stacks of zeal. What is WP? Willpower. So whatever your willpower is, you'll get that amount of stacks of zeal. Okay. The bonus, right? So the bonus, you'll typically have about 50 WP in the beginning of the game. If you build your character towards that, I think you can get about 50 or 40. So you'll have 5, right? 5 or 4. That's what the bonus means. Does not provoke attacks of opportunity. Okay, interesting. Unshakable Faith. In combat, the Ministorum Priest gains plus 2 times strength bonus, plus toughness bonus, plus agility bonus, plus perception bonus of willpower. Wow. I hope I read that right. So you basically just buff the crap out of your willpower. At the start of combat, they gain willpower bonus stacks of zeal. They gain plus 1 stacks of zeal for each enemy they attack with a bolter, a flamer, or a chain melter or power weapon for the first time in combat. They gain plus 2 stacks of zeal for each demon or Xenos killed in combat by any source. Okay, so that's just like stay relatively well buffed and keep your resources flowing. Or is this a passive? I don't know. Okay, so, I mean, this is ridiculous. If you look at the other guys, they get a plus 5 to their modifiers, right? Plus 5, 5's all around. 5's all around. The Ministorum Priest, 10 willpower, 10 Law Imperium. Willpower and then Law Imperium. Another 20 Law to the Imperium. That's actually very... That might make... Because I want to treat my playthrough of you know, this is a great way to get more vested into the you know, the lore of 40k, right? This is like what an amazing experience this will be, because I consider myself somebody who has just enough information or just enough knowledge on the Warhammer 40k lore to be dangerous, but not enough to be an expert, right? I think that's where I sit. So let's look at this. Litany of Purification. Whenever the character uses War Hymn or Furious Rectical, each demon and Xenos in a 5-cell radius suffers 5 times number of zeal stacks direct damage and plus 1 stack of Perplexed. I am perplexed. What is Perplexed? Each stack inflicts a minus 10 penalty to ballistic skill, weapon skill, intelligence, and perception. The effect will be removed at the end of combat. If gained outside of combat, visit the Void Ship to remove. So each stack inflicts a minus 10 penalty to okay, so you just like nerf the shit out of something. Being perplexed sucks. And that's every time you use Warhim or Furious Rectical. What is Furious Rectical? Grants 2 times number of zeal stacks momentum, then the system of, yeah, okay, gains WP bonus stacks of zeal. Does not provoke, okay. Okay, so lots of synergy there between this character and Agenta, who you get like right off the bat. Whenever the Ministorum Priest uses Warhim, for the record, guys, I've not played past the prologue. Whenever the Ministorum Priest uses Warhim or Furious Rectal for one of the priests themselves and their allies in a 5-star radius, deal plus number of zeal stacks divided by 2 more weapon damage. So just a nice way to get some extra weapon damage. This bonus is doubled against Demons, Psychers, and Xenos. Okay, so these guys, you know how in like classic, you know, Baldur's Gate 1 or 2, I think 2 more likely, I don't know if it was in 1, you could choose like a Crusader, like a variety of Paladin, and they would have like a dedicated enemy, right? And it would be like demons or dragons or something. And I guess some of the bow type characters, what would you call them, a ranger, would also have like a favored enemy type of statistic. I guess that's a very common D&D thing. These guys are like that, only they just kill everything that's Xenos or demon, right? Tenets of Retribution. The Ministorum Priest deals plus WP bonus divided by 3 more damage and WP bonus percent plus willpower bonus percent more critical damage with bolt weapons. Okay, so not necessarily a melee character. You would actually want to have him armed with a bolter or a multi or whatever. Base multi-weapon and flamer damage is increased by plus willpower bonus percent. Those bonuses are doubled against Demons, Psychers, and Xenos. Damn. Okay, so this, like, they're never going to give you a problem. You're just going to murder all the aliens and all the demons. The Emperor protects. The Ministorum Priest's maximum wounds are increased by willpower bonus. So you just invest in willpower, which is already getting a plus 10, and you become an absolute powerhouse. Or I assume you become a powerhouse, right? I know how these games work. Even though I've never played a Pathfinder Owlcat game, doesn't mean I don't know how these things run. I'm picking up what they're putting down. Flensing Faith. What is flensing? Is this a made-up thing? Flensing. To slice the skin or fat from a carcass. The Ministorum Priest gains plus willpower bonus percents worth of armor penetration with chain and power weapons. Okay, so you're not being pigeonholed into melters and flamers and bolters or whatever. You're also getting some chain and power weapons. So that's like power fists, I guess. You know, that type of stuff. I don't know if non-Space Marines get access to power fists, but I know that you can get like a power sword for a human at a Dark Tide. Critical hits scored with such weapons inflict willpower bonus divided by 2 levels worth of burning. Okay, so you just get all your attacks just do burning damage as a type of fire damage. Those bonuses are doubled against Demons, Psychers, and Xenos. Cool. Very cool. Flensing Faith. Okay, and that concludes the Ministorum Priest. We move on to the Navy officer, and I mean, from an aesthetics point of view, I'm kind of into it. I like the idea of the rogue trader being a Navy officer as well as an Astra Militarum Commander. So these are probably my top 2 picks. I would love for you guys in the comments to help me figure out my origin without being too spoilery. Don't go and say, you know, like, don't go and describe builds. I'm not interested. I want to play the game blind, make mistakes, and I'm not going to be optimal. It's my first playthrough, right? I'm going to be as optimal as I can be, and in terms of like what makes sense thematically and stuff like this. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. I can't wait. I'm probably going to start tonight and you know, get a video out tomorrow ASAP. The Navy officer. The Imperial Navy is responsible for the fleets of void ships that assert the dominance of the Imperium amid the stars and fulfill other duties connected to the void and warp travel. You used to be a Navy officer and a commander of a void ship, hardened in numerous battles and famous for resounding victories. Features: brace for impact. I don't think this is much changed. I remember Abelard, the first companion you get, he has this. I don't think it's changed very much. The Navy officer grants the braced effect to each ally, including themselves, in a 5-star radius. This effect lasts for 1 round. The Navy officer gains plus 1 charge of this ability at the start of combat, when their wounds drop below 50% for the first time in combat, and each time an ally falls unconscious for the first time in combat. Okay, so everybody gets braced. Braced is plus 2 deflection for each archetype chosen by the Navy officer. That's a confusing statistic. An archetype, I think, is your class points. Plus 2 for each archetype chosen by the character. Hold on. Archetype defines a character's role in the game. As the character levels up, the rank of the chosen archetype will increase, opening up access to new abilities and talents. So that's... you only choose like 2 archetypes, maybe 3 archetypes throughout the entire game. So to get that up to +4 is going to take, that's like a late game thing, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Also, the character gains immunity to forced movement effects and cannot be over-penetrated. Okay, so over-penetration, we'll read this when we actually start the playthrough. So when that comes up, we'll read it then. So their toughness, perception, carouse, and awareness, I believe this all remains unchanged. And they've got the following features to be available after Origin Advancement: perception and carouse. That's a lot of carouse. That's a toughness skill, I believe, yeah. Okay, so their talents. This is the new juice for the Navy officer. Stentorian voice. What is stentorian? Stentorian, of a person's voice, loud and powerful. Okay, cool. I wish I had a stentorian voice. Enemies in a 5-cell radius around the Navy officer while the braced effect lasts suffer minus 10 times number of archetypes chosen by the Navy officer weapon skill and minus 10 times number of archetypes chosen by the Navy officer ballistic skill. That is confusing as all hell. So minus 10 times the number of archetypes, so that's going to be like what, 1 in the beginning? So 10 times 1, 10 chosen by the Navy officer. So you're going to get 10 weapon skill and about 10 ballistic skill. No, the enemies are going to suffer minus 10 and minus 10, then maybe minus 20 and minus 20. I see how that scales, but that's a big jump. Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I'm reading this correctly, but you're basically going to be nerfing nearby enemies within a 5-cell radius by 10 in terms of their, melee and range skills. Okay, pretty cool. I mean, you're either buffing your guys or you're nerfing the enemies, right? Allies with the braced effect or affected by the Navy officer's other non-attacking archetype abilities gain +10, +2 times perception bonuses percentages worth of dodge for 1 round. Does not stack. So get a bunch of dodge while you're braced. I mean, that's cool, I guess. The Navy, I feel like the usefulness of this depends on the turn order, right? Like you really want, this guy, say there's a teammate of yours in a really precarious position. If you're not going before him, you're not giving them this dodge bonus, right? In that moment of need. I find it so coincidental to make this useful. I love the idea of the Navy officer thematically, but so far these abilities aren't doing it for me. The Navy officer and their allies with the braced effect do not provoke attacks of opportunity. That's actually very cool. You can run around the battlefield and position yourselves a lot easier when you're braced, because I think you're basically always going to be braced if this guy's in your party, or if Abelard's in your party. Well, Abelard will be doing this stuff, right? So, I don't know. We'll see. Fleet combat training. When the Navy officer scores a critical hit or successfully parries an attack with their primary melee weapon, they immediately make an attack whichever costs the least AP with their secondary weapon against the same enemy. That's very cool. So that's on critical hit or parry. Get off me. While the braced effect lasts, the Navy officer can use the get off me ability once per round, and the targets of their melee attacks must pass an agility resistance test with a -10 penalty or fall prone. So you just CC an enemy, essentially. And then get into cover. All allies affected by the brace for impact, which is the primary feature obviously, gain an extra turn with 0 AP and 3 movement points and increase their cover efficiency by 20% for 1 round. Targets can only use movement abilities, heroic acts, and desperate measures during this extra turn. Okay, that's very cool. Yeah, I'm really going to struggle to pick a character. It's definitely one of these guys. It's Commissar, Priest, Astra Militarum Commander, or Navy Officer. And that's all the abilities, guys. I hope I didn't, bang on for too long and just kind of go off topic too much. I have a tendency to do that. But I've got some decisions to make. I've got some characters to build. And I'm going to start my playthrough incredibly soon. So, guys, thank you so much for putting in. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.